I've been using OPPO's latest flagship devices, the Find X9 and X9 Pro, and I've got to be real, I really underestimated how much I was going to like using these phones. I mean, I know OPPO makes some incredible phones to begin with, especially their top tier models, but this year, yeah, they really surprised me, especially the Find X9 Pro. This thing really blew me away with all the new features that it came with. Now, if you're new to my channel, when I do a review, I don't just sit here and read off spec sheets. Anyone can just do that. In fact, here it is on the screen if you want those numbers. For me, the big thing is really talking about how the phones actually feel to use day in and day out. What did I love? Were there any issues? How does it stack up against previous phones I've used? Basically, what's my real world experience when using these new flagships? So that's exactly what I'll be sharing here. Oh, and real quick, yes, this video is sponsored by OPPO, but listen, that just means they sent me these phones to talk about. It doesn't mean I have to lie about them. I'm going to break down all the new stuff and give you my genuine thoughts along the way. By the end, you'll have a pretty solid idea of whether or not one of these phones is the right one for you or not. So let's kick things off with what impressed me the most. It was really the software. Both phones come with ColorOS 16 right out of the box, and man, this new version adds a ton of nice quality of life improvements. First off, it's way more customizable now, which makes it super easy to make the phone feel like your own. Like on the home screen, you can now resize folders into all sorts of shapes and sizes, even with different layouts. Even better, you can even now resize any app's icon too. And you can drop in their shortcuts to jump right into certain parts of an app. It's a small thing, but it's something that no other Android skin is doing right now, besides Oxygen OS. They've also finally fixed a couple of things that I've been complaining about for years. Like for instance, the widgets panel. It used to be a mess and outdated with no collapsible menus or even a search bar. Well, it's been fixed now. You now have the widgets be in submenus, and then you have a search bar too. And then within the app drawer, the search bar was always stuck at the top, which was really hard to reach. Luckily, they brought it down to the bottom now for easier use with one hand. Then there's the lock screen. I mean, I've got to hand to OPPO, they've definitely stepped things up here too. Their new Flux Themes 2.0 are honestly so eye-catching, especially the new clock styles that they have. I'm not gonna lie though, some of them do look a bit like iOS's lock screens, but there are just so many to choose from and they really make the lock screen pop. You can even set a motion photo that you took from your camera as your wallpaper, and then you get this cool immersive depth effect where the clock hides behind the subject. Or you can also add custom text too. Instead of clock, there's ones to choose from for that. Or you can even do both. You can even set a video as your wallpaper now too. And of course, you can tweak a lot of the elements in the lock screen, like changing the weight of the clock, color, style, layout, whatever. The only downside is you can't manually change the position or size of the elements. You're stuck with their presets. I mean, you can zoom in the wallpaper, but that's about it. But still, overall, ColorOS has easily one of the best looking lock screens on Android right now, in my opinion. Another thing that really stood out to me when using the Find X9s is just how well these phones play nice with other devices, even ones outside the Android ecosystem, like Apple devices, which most other Android skins don't bother with. For instance, you still have O+ Connect, which makes it dead simple to transfer files to any iPhone by holding the two devices together. And now on ColorOS 16, you can even connect it to a Windows or Mac computer and control your OPPO phone right from your desktop. You can view and transfer files seamlessly, even mirror your phone's screen too, so that way you can control it on your computer. And on top of that, you can run up to 5 mobile apps at once and control them even with your mouse and keyboard. Or even do the reverse and remotely access your computer directly from your OPPO phone. It's something that most other Android phones can't do. Plus, if you have another OPPO phone, sharing files is a breeze with this new touch to share feature. You just open the media file that you want to share and just hold the phones close together and swipe it up to share the stuff over with a cool animation. It works really well over the air and just like how iPhones do it. The Find X9s are also really packed with a bunch of quality of life features that I've really came to appreciate. And most of them actually feel smart too because they use AI in really practical ways. My absolute favorite new feature is within the system settings. When you search for something, you can now use AI to help you find what you're looking for. The cool part is that you don't even need to know the name of a setting anymore. You can just describe what you want your phone to do. Like you can type in improve performance or help save battery, and it'll pull up a bunch of different settings that you can change to make it happen. It's something that I've been wishing Google would add to native Android for the longest time. Then there's this new feature called motion cues, which is a first for any phone. Basically, if you get motion sickness when you try to use your phone in the car, this is supposed to help. It works by showing you these little dots on the side of the screen that shift and sway along with the movement of the vehicle. It helps your brain match what your eyes are seeing with what your body's feeling, which reduces that weird sensory mismatch that causes nausea. You may think it's a gimmick, but honestly, it's been working. My only wish is that it could turn on automatically when it detects that you're in a moving car. That would be great to have. For now, you have to toggle it manually through a quick settings tile, which isn't too bad either. Another feature that I really liked is Mindspace. You can think of it like a super organized junk drawer for your phone. It lets you save anything you come across, no matter what app you're in. If you see a post on Instagram for a great gift idea, an article that you want to read later, or an important conversation that you're having, you can just swipe up with 3 fingers, or even use the new Snap key on the side of the phone to instantly save it. Then inside the Mindspace app, after it analyzes your content, it'll give you summaries, let you add remarks, and you can even ask follow-up questions about what you saved. Plus, it's now integrated with Google's Gemini, so you can take it even further and ask things like, create a gift list using the products I've saved in Mindspace. And it does it. There are also a few other AI tricks that I enjoyed too. I mean, there's one called AI Writer that makes it super easy to generate or improve my writing. I used it all the time when coming up with captions for my Instagram posts when I was drawing a blank. The Recorder app got even better too because it now uses AI to give you real-time transcription and is even able to identify different speakers in the recording. Plus, at the end, it can even give you a summary of what's been recorded. And I also love that Gemini now works with native OPPO apps too, like Calendar, Notes, and more, so you don't have to rely solely on Google Apps. Now, of course, none of these AI software features are exactly groundbreaking. I mean, we've seen bits and pieces on other devices too, but I've got to say, they were nice additions that actually came in handy while I was using the Find X9. Now, I gotta be real though, no software is perfect, and ColorOS 16 does have a few quirks that I'd like to see improved. First, when you expand the volume panel, it literally takes up the entire screen, which feels pretty unnecessary. I'd also like to see an undo button on the home screen for when you accidentally remove an icon or widget. And lastly, I wish more of the system screens were optimized for better one-handed use. Still though, overall, ColorOS 16 feels like one of the best versions yet. Fast, flexible, and full of genuinely smart features that made using the Find X9 really enjoyable. Now, as for the performance, I honestly find the Find X9 to be really smooth. Now sure, it's not the most powerful phone you can get. It's running a MediaTek Dimensity 9500, but it handled everything I threw at it without a hitch, including power-intensive stuff like gaming. Day-to-day things were just buttery smooth, including opening apps, switching between them, the animations, even the transitions from the always-on display to the lock screen and then the home screen felt flawless. Everything just flowed really well, and I rarely ever experienced any stutters. Plus, the fingerprint scanner even felt faster this time around too. OPPO claims that they made this 3D ultrasonic scanner 35% faster and 33% more reliable than conventional optical scanners, which explains the faster unlocks I had. It even recognized my finger when it was wet or oily. Plus, it's got this new ring animation too, which I think is super satisfying, but of course, you can change it within the settings. I will say that even though it handled gaming pretty well too, including heavy titles like Call of Duty Mobile at max settings, I did notice that some other flagships like the Galaxy S25 Ultra did feel a bit smoother, especially within matches that had bigger maps and way more players. But the differences are honestly not that big, and you won't really notice them in real-world use, especially if you don't have the phones side by side to compare. I definitely didn't when I was gaming with the Find X9. Plus, the best part is that even with these heavy workloads, these phones did a great job of staying cool. And it's really thanks to a bigger and more efficient vapor chamber. The regular X9s is over 21% larger than its predecessor, and the X9 Pros is over 33% larger, plus some other tweaks to improve heat dissipation like a thinner stainless steel mesh. So performance was definitely not an issue here, definitely not the fastest phones you can get, but in actual use, it's every bit as smooth and stable as most top-tier flagships. Now, outside of the software, none of that really matters if the phone isn't comfortable to use. I mean, how does it feel in the hand? Does the design make sense day to day? Is it easy to use with one hand? Basically, is the hardware going to give you a headache when using it every day? Well, overall, I was pretty satisfied. First off, they moved to a more minimal aluminum design. And honestly, I wouldn't say it's the most exciting design out there, but it's still not the ugliest. I don't really mind it. Gone is the giant circular camera module. Instead, it's a smaller rounded rectangle off to the left. Some people might like that, others might not. Personally, I don't mind it, especially because your index finger no longer rests on the lenses when you're holding it. It just sits comfortably off to the side so you don't smudge up the lenses. The only real downside though is that it does wobble a bit when you try to use it on a flat surface. The sides of the phone are also completely flat, and both the front and back panel are flush too. I kind of wish that the back though had a slight curve to it to make it comfier to hold, but overall it still feels premium. Both models are just slightly thicker than before, barely noticeable, and I'll gladly take that trade-off for the bigger batteries they're packing this year. More on that later. Both phones are also a tiny bit smaller than their predecessors. We're talking about 1 millimeter or so shorter and narrower, so you won't really notice it, and they're still pretty manageable with one hand. Obviously, the regular Find X9 is easier to handle, but both phones still have beautiful large displays, 6.59 inches on the X9 and 6.78 inches on the X9 Pro. As for the buttons, they are great too. They're really in the perfect spot for my fingers and feel really tactile when I click them. You even get extra keys that most phones don't have. There's a snap key on the left frame that you can remap to do all sorts of things like toggle settings, turn on the flashlight, take a screenshot, and more. It's a lot like Apple's action button. The only thing you can't do though is set it to open a specific app, which I think would have been really handy. Plus on the Find X9 Pro, you still get that quick button. It's similar to the camera control key on the latest iPhones, letting you open and control the camera way faster. You can double tap it to launch the camera, tap once to take a photo, and then you can long press for burst shooting, and then you can swipe left or right to zoom. It's even more accurate this time around. OPPO says it can detect movements as small as 0.3 millimeters. To be honest though, I didn't really find myself using it as much, but when shooting in landscape, I mean, it was pretty nice to zoom in just by sliding my finger. It's also extremely water and dust resistant with IP66, IP68, and IP69 ratings, so I can confidently take this thing to the pool or the beach without a worry. Now here are the colors. The Pro model comes in titanium charcoal, which isn't actually titanium, it's just in the name and it just looks like it. Or there's this silk white option, which is the one that I'm using. The regular Find X9 comes in titanium gray, again, not real titanium, space black, and this really vibrant velvet red. So not a ton of color options, but they all look pretty nice still. As for the screens, they're very similar to last year's, just refined in a few key areas. The first thing you'll really notice are the bezels. They're ridiculously thin now, measuring at just around 1.15 millimeters evenly all around. It honestly makes the phones look almost bezel-less, which is amazing for watching movies or playing games. The overall screen brightness is also slightly better than before too. In high brightness mode, both phones now hit 1800 nits instead of 1600. However, with peak brightness, which is the short burst brightness for things like HDR highlights, it actually went down from 4500 to 3600 nits. So that is kind of a downside, but in day-to-day use, it won't actually really matter that much because for general visibility across the entire screen, it's actually brighter this time around. And on top of that, probably the most impressive feature is that this screen can actually dim all the way down to just 1 nit. That means it won't blind you at all at night. It's one of the only Android phones too that can do this. And even better, the X9 Pro has 2160 Hz PWM dimming, while the X9 even has a higher hertz at 3840, which significantly reduces flicker and eases eye strain too. To put that in perspective, the Galaxy S25 Ultra has 480 Hz PWM. So the Find X9 phones have quite literally some of the most comfortable displays to look at, especially at night. Now let's talk about the cameras, because OPPO really brought out their A game this year. Both the Find X9 and X9 Pro still feature a Hasselblad quad camera setup, but with some nice upgrades across the board. You've got your wide, ultra wide, and periscope telephoto lenses, along with a true color camera sensor that helps measure lighting and color temperatures in real time, so that way the colors in your shots come out looking a lot more accurate. On the regular Find X9, the setup is similar to last year's, but with a few key improvements, mainly a wider sensor for better low light shooting, and that new true color sensor that I talked about before. Then for the Find X9 Pro, it has a 50 megapixel main, a 50 megapixel ultra wide, and a crazy 200 megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom. That new telephoto can actually capture over twice as much light as before, giving you sharper, brighter photos even in tough lighting. And on top of that, it even doubles as a macro lens that can focus as close as 10 centimeters, which is something that most phones, including something like the iPhone 17 Pro Max, can't do. It really lets you get in there with great quality. And by the way, fun fact, there's actually a camera mode now called Hasselblad High Res that lets you shoot directly at 200 megapixels with the telephoto. It's pretty insane because you're basically taking a 16K level photo. In fact, the photos are so massive that the phone literally has to capture them in segments. It's pretty wild. And by the way, the shutter speed and photo processing on these phones are some of the fastest that I've ever seen. OPPO is now using something called the Lumo imaging engine. Instead of processing photos step by step, it has the CPU, GPU, and all the other chips working together at the same time, thereby making photo processing faster and more efficient. Plus, it also helps with different areas like denoising photos, preserving natural tones, and even maintaining detail in tricky lighting situations when you take fireworks, sparks, or other types of lightings. Plus, this is actually the first phone to support 4K motion photo. Every other phone out there, including the latest iPhone and Galaxy devices, save motion photo frames at a much lower resolution, typically around 1080p. But with the Find X9, if your cover photo isn't the perfect shot, you can just pick any frame from the 4K video clip, and each one is usually an ultra clear photo. Now, when actually taking photos, I was really satisfied by how consistent these phones are in different lighting. Daytime shots are super sharp with great contrast and color, not too saturated, not too flat. Everything just looked really natural. And because every lens can shoot at its full 50 megapixel resolution, you can crop in and the details still look very clean. The X9 Pro's 200 telephoto is the real star here too. At 3x, it's one of the sharpest zooms I've used, and it holds that clarity all the way up to about 12x thanks to that in-sensor zoom that I talked about earlier. It's basically cropping directly from that massive 200 megapixel sensor instead of using digital trickery. If you compare it to other big names like the iPhone 17 Pro Max at 10x or 20x zoom, the Find X9 Pro definitely takes the cake. You get better detail, clarity, and coloring, especially outdoors. And even if that's not enough zoom for you, OPPO even sells this new Hasselblad teleconverter lens that's an add-on to the phone, and it basically lets you get pretty wild zoomed in shots. I would only really recommend this if you're a photographer or a creator who likes to shoot from far away. It gives you an extra 3.28x magnification, giving you a true 10x optical zoom. It's perfect for concerts, sports, or wildlife, or anything where you need some serious reach. Plus, you can even combine this phone with the concert stage mode and its 4 microphone array, and it's honestly the ultimate concert phone setup. Now, when taking pictures at night, I was also really pleased with the results. The main sensor's huge f1.5 aperture just keeps night photos bright and detailed without going overboard. It also did a fantastic job of keeping colors balanced, even in tricky lighting, and highlights kept their detail too instead of blowing out, which usually happens in some other phones at night. My only small complaint is that it sometimes lifts the shadows a bit too much, which can flatten the depth a little, but it's a minor thing. Portrait mode also got some love too. OPPO and Hasselblad fine-tuned it this year to handle skin tones and background blur more naturally. The bokeh looks soft and realistic, and faces stay sharp without that fake beauty filter effect. Plus, you can use that 200 megapixel telephoto at 3x zoom for portraits, and it gives you that nice depth of field separation that looks like it came from an actual camera lens. Plus, even in low light portraits at 3x, it looks great. I mean, compared to the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and you can definitely tell that the Find X9 just blows it out of the water. When it comes to video, OPPO's Find X9 also provided great results. Both the X9 and X9 Pro can shoot at up to 4K at 120 FPS with Dolby Vision in slow motion, and they're ACES certified, which means their color accuracy meets professional cinema standards. Plus, on top of that, you can record at up to 4K, 60 FPS, Dolby Vision from every lens, wide, ultra wide, and telephoto too, which is great, something that the Galaxy S25 Ultra doesn't even offer. Plus, for content creators, you'll be happy to hear that the X9 Pro now even offers true Pro Video mode with full log support. That way, you can get complete creative control in post when you start to color grade the footage. And there's even an option to let you see the LUT previews inside the viewfinder to visualize the final color grade in real time. So yeah, it's a great video camera for shooting content. The only downside is that it doesn't let you record at up to 8K resolution, which is something that the Galaxy S25 Ultra does let you do. But for most people, I mean 4K resolution is more than fine. Now as for the battery life, this is where the Find X9s also really impressed me too. The Find X9 packs a massive 7,025 mAh battery, while the X9 Pro goes even further at an enormous 7,500 mAh cell. That's literally the biggest battery that I've ever used on a phone, period. And the craziest thing about this is that despite those huge capacities, both phones are still surprisingly slim, even slimmer than the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And how OPPO managed to pull this off is basically by using a 3rd generation silicon carbon battery technology. OPPO even claims that these batteries will even hold about 80% of their capacity after 5 years of normal use. That's a huge deal if you like to keep your phone for a long time. And in my day-to-day use, I was easily getting around 8 to 9 hours of screen on time on a single charge. And that's with the mix of gaming, watching videos, and social media scrolling with a bit of music playing in the background, and of course my Samsung Galaxy Watch connected too. When I did end up needing to charge the phones though, they both had incredible speeds too. Both phones support 80-watt SuperVOOC wire charging, getting you to about 50% in around 25 minutes, or just fully juicing it up in under an hour. And they also support 55-watt power delivery, so even if you don't have an OPPO charger, you're still good to go with most third-party ones. Now the bad news though is that for the first time, OPPO actually didn't include a charging brick in the box, at least the unit that I got. So yeah, you'll have to buy that one separately, which is a bit of a bummer. On the plus side, you still get 50-watt AirVOOC wireless charging if you have OPPO's proprietary charger, which is still one of the fastest wireless charging speeds available too. And of course, you get 10-watt reverse wireless charging for powering up smaller devices like your earbuds. So yeah, between the massive battery sizes, long lifespan, and crazy fast charging speeds, the Find X9 series easily outlasts most of the competitors out there that I've used in the past, like the iPhone 17 Pro Max or the Galaxy S25 Ultra. So in the end, OPPO's Find X9 and X9 Pro really left me impressed in a lot of ways, especially since they're selling for around $630 to $900, depending on the region. So definitely not the most expensive phones out there. You've got an incredible software experience packed with all those new customization options and helpful AI features. Then there's the seriously powerful camera setup that it's got with that giant telephoto lens. And of course that incredible battery life that it packs. OPPO once again brought a good amount to the table. Of course it's not perfect. I mean, the new design is not the flashiest thing I've seen, and it's not the absolute fastest phone you can buy, especially when it comes to gaming, but it still feels like a really solid upgrade from its predecessor in almost every way that counts. I would definitely recommend this to anyone who's looking for a phone that will last and isn't going to break the bank. Anyway, if you're more into foldables, check out this video where I went over one of the thinnest ones from OPPO, the Find N5. Or tap this video to learn about the latest OxygenOS 16 update that carries similar features found within the Find X9. Also, let me know what you think of these new OPPO flagships in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Kapow!